This is Jennifer Clark Tinker for Life and Liberty with David Householder. One stormy night in my teens, I was babysitting 2 young children. The storm was rolling in as I arrived at the house, and so the mother was prepared. She had in mind that she would get us candles and flashlights and all the types of things that you would need, made sure I knew where matches were to light the candles, everything that we would need in case power would go out while we were gone. So she made sure I knew where all that stuff was. And I thought it was going to be fine. We were going to be fine. It was no big deal. But the children were young. The boy was about 4 years old, and he was very, very scared. The little girl was only 1.5 years, and she didn't really know what was happening. But the little boy was very worried about the storm. His mom tried to comfort him, but it was time for her to go. She had to leave. And there I was with him, trying to comfort this young boy who was very scared about the storm coming in. We snuggled on the couch together. I tried to read to him to try to make him more comfortable, to try to take his mind off the storm. But he was very worried, and he kept asking me about what if the power went out? What if the power went out? He was very worried about the lights going out. So I was trying to think, what could I do to comfort him? And I'm trying to say, we have candles, we have a flashlight, we'll be okay if it goes out. Your mom made sure we were ready. Well, none of this was convincing him. And so finally I said, well, I have an idea. This is something I do for myself sometimes. If it's stormy out and I'm home alone, if I know that the lights may go out, sometimes what I'll do is I go ahead and I light my candle first. And then I turn off all the lights and I turn them off myself so that I'm the one in charge of when the lights go out. And I just sit there with my candle. And I have this beautiful time in candlelight. And so if the lights go off, I don't even notice. Do you want to try that? And the little boy looked at me and he perked up and he said, yeah, let's do that. And so we did. We lit a candle and we ourselves turned off all the lights all by ourselves. And there we were, and we were not in the dark. We had our candlelight to keep us company. In a little while, the little boy fell asleep there on the couch next to me. A little while later, I heard a click, and the VCR clock turned off. So I knew that the power had gone out. And the little boy heard the click too, and he woke up and he said, what was that? And I said, well, the electricity just went out, but we have our candle, right? He said, yeah. And his eyes closed and he drifted back off to sleep. And what I love about that story is the comfort that it gave to us, knowing that the lights were not going to go out because we had our candle that we had lit. And no matter, even if the power went out, we would not be in the dark. In my Lutheran tradition of spirituality, we have the tradition of Lent. It's the time leading up to Easter, and it's the time, we mark the time leading up to the death of Jesus, and then, of course, his resurrection. But the events leading up to his death are very intense events. Betrayal, friends turning on him, and him ultimately being executed on a cross. And so it's a very, very, very dramatic event, very traumatic event. And so we take this time in the year to observe those events in the season of Lent. And it's considered a time for reflection and thinking about our own lives and our own what's important to us, and kind of recentering on the importance and the centrality of God in our lives and the importance of what Jesus has done for us. And it's often can be a time of looking at our lives, things that we've done wrong, things that we're not proud of, and things like that. And in many ways, it can be thought of as a dark season of our lives, of our time of the year, to be thinking about these difficult things, death and wrongdoing and all of these things. But in this time, we do look forward to Jesus rising from the dead, his resurrection. And we have that hope. And in the hope of Jesus' resurrection, I like to think of that as the candle that God has left on for us. So no matter how dark the season of Lent feels, we have that candle. We have that hope of the resurrection. And we know that Jesus has risen from the dead, and we look forward in that hope to God's victory over death. It's as if God has not left us totally in the dark. And what's interesting about the season of Lent also is that it seems that this hope is built in to the season itself, because even the word Lent comes from the word meaning lengthen, having to do with the lengthening of days. Here we are, it's spring. We just passed the spring equinox, and so now the days are getting longer and longer and longer as we move into summer. And so the lengthening of days, the lengthening of time of daylight for each day is getting longer and longer and growing, and the light is growing. The light has never gone out. In the Gospel of John, it tells us, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness will not overcome it. And we know this in the hope of Jesus Christ and his resurrection.